returns on Green Flag TV. This time we swing out to the Music City for the Music City 150. Where else? It's Nashville, Tennessee, and the TNGG IEL Truck Series gets set to rumble back to life once again. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the show. My name is Nolan Rempel. You're watching us on Green Flag TV. Alongside me tonight is Austin Edstrom. Austin, race number 8 in what has been an ever-tightening championship. The top 5 enter this race separated by a mere 30 points. After 7 races, that's quite a feat, and we should be getting set to see what could be a good show here tonight for the competition.
Yeah, close in the championship standings here in the TNGG IEL Truck Series. And, well, that just leads for a good race here tonight. A lot of people are going to be fighting for every single spot. Every bit of points matter. Just about 45 minutes outside the Music City here tonight at the Nashville Superspeedway. Fantastic racetrack. A little small in the stands, but it makes up for it with some great action out on the track.
Paul Witt enters this race as points leader by 8. He is ahead of Aaron Raymond. Aaron Raymond is right now 3 points up from Zane Bailey. Michael Gudger sits another 8 points back in that 4th position. And then, of course, Scott Rankin another 9 points out to round out the top 5. So the top 5 drivers have been keeping relatively close. And I think we have started to see a lot of who your main points contenders are going to be, considering that Thomas Lane Jr., the next driver down, 33 points out. Now, that said, there are 2 drop weeks throughout the course of the season, and that is, of course, having some impact on these points in a week-to-week basis. But it's looking like it'll be a fight between these top 5, right? Witt, Raymond, Bailey, Gudger, and Rankin. All drivers that have been making some huge splashes early on in the season.
Yeah, we're going to have to see which one's going to make the biggest splash here in Nashville. Scott Rankin currently sitting on top of the pole, looking like he might be able to hold that till the end of qualifying. Still 2.5 minutes left and about 4 drivers that have not turned a qualifying lap. But Scott Rankin looking pretty good to potentially move himself up from that 5th place position and start challenging our championship leaders.
You speak of drivers that have yet to put down qualifying laps. This is Doc Holliday. He currently runs 16th on the racetrack. Thomas Lane Jr. also putting down a qualifying lap. He just went 17th quick, just 1 spot behind and separated by 1/100th of a second. Seeing what Holliday can do as he works off of turn numbers 3 and 4 and back around to the start-finish line to close out his qualifying effort. And this lap at the line will be good enough for 13th. We look back now to Thomas Lane Jr. as he crosses the start-finish line for his 2nd lap. Was 17th on his 1st lap, and he'll be no improvement for him. He'll be in 18th. How about Jim Duda, though? He goes 4th quick on lap number 1.
Yeah, Duda with a good 1st lap, trying to make it a little bit better here on lap number 2. 0.7 of a second off of our race leader. Looking to get down to about 172 miles an hour before we get down into turn number 3. Coming around the high banks here at Nashville. Duda, can he put it on pole? Really good 1st lap, coming up to the line. Cuts the dog leg a little ways. And Duda, I do not believe, improved on his 2nd lap. He's just going to sit in the 4th place spot.
No improvement for Jim Duda on lap number 2. He will remain in 4th place, but hey, at a track where it can be difficult to pass that, that's still not bad at all. So we've got all drivers currently wrapped up on qualifying. 25 are scheduled to start racing action tonight, 24 of which have put down qualifying laps. We'll give a quick chance here to thank the folks at Network Alliance for Veterans for keeping the lights on here, the TNGG IEL Truck Series. NAV is a program that informs veterans of programming available and services throughout the northeast area of Indiana. Network Alliance also looks outside of Indiana for extra benefits and programs, along with benefits for veterans and their families, all while promoting programs on the NAV site, such as Veterans of Foreign Wars, the American Legion, and the Fraternal Order of Eagles. Cecil Ross networks with other organizations such as the Women Veterans Alliance out of California. Lastly, the Network Alliance for Veterans YouTube channel contains live stories and podcasts, and it advertises various events and benefits. Them and, of course, Ab and Box keeping the lights on here for season number 5 of the TNGG IEL Truck Series. Getting my Saturday and Wednesday night series mixed up, just like you almost did with our start times tonight, Austin. But it's been fun, though. Let's be honest.
You didn't need to bring that up for the viewers. I might have lost track of time, but I'm here tonight. That's all that matters, right?
You are indeed here, and I'm glad to have you here because it's going to be a wild show here tonight. Concrete tracks always throw up some wild races. So let's see how the grid's going to line up as we get set to duke it out. 113 laps coming up for the Music City 150. Starting on the pole, it is Wanted Goons' driver Scott Rankin. On that front row alongside Raymond Motorsports' Aaron Raymond. Out of Canam, it's John Held in that third position. Jim Duda out of the Midwest starts in fourth. You've got Michael Gudger starting in that fifth position out of Carolina alongside Paul Witt in sixth. Zane Bailey out of the Mid-South starts seventh with Mike Allen for Team Alpha 1 in eighth. Jim Coleman's starts in ninth. Selena Thompson for the Orlando Outlaws rounds out the top 10.
Noah Swafford is going to line up row number 6, and Dale Rapp is going to start to his outside. Jeff Gilmore will start in the 13th place spot. Doc Holliday lining up in 14th. Charlie Birch lines up in the 15th place spot with LeBon Van Leer in 16th. Brad Slagle in 17th with Thomas Lane Jr. lining up side by side with him in 18th. Ryan McRoberts starts in the 19th place spot, and Zachary Groover rounds out your top 20.
Mike Campbell for Papa Bear Racing starts at the number 21 spot with Robert Amaro out of the New England state. It's going to start 22nd. Jack Dow Motorsports' John Bawalda Jr. starts 23rd alongside Two Brothers Racing's Brandon Groover. Waylon McConnell will be starting at 25th place, the lone driver, not putting down a qualifying lap this afternoon. So got all bar one gridded up, just waiting now on the last place driver of McConnell to grid on up before we'll get racing action fully underway. You take a look at the grid high and wide over the Nashville Superspeedway and what should be a fun afternoon. And a race, I believe, that looks set to be racing this one into the evening from the state of Tennessee.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty safe bet. We've got 2 times time coming at you tonight, and we're sitting at just about 6:30 already. So I do imagine that we're going to be racing well into the darkness here. 113 laps around the Nashville Superspeedway, mile and a third concrete oval, like you mentioned earlier. I feel like the concrete tracks on iRacing are the easiest ones to sucker people into burning up tires. So I think we are going to see a couple of comers and goers tonight with maybe a couple people just burning up their stuff a little bit too hard at the early going. And it feels so inviting because you have to try so hard to make a pass here that you can really burn up your stuff, and maybe you make up 1, 2, 3 positions, but it very well could hurt you at the back end of a run.
It's the second concrete track that we've had so far, and there's a lot of concrete tracks coming up on Green Flag TV. Of course, the Speed Tires Plus Cup Series was at Dover on Thursday, and the Almost Road Truck Series will be back there on Tuesday as well, before they have their own swing to Nashville the week after. But for now, we welcome the Music City back to Green Flag TV. The Pace Truck pulling down and into pit road from Tennessee will enter the restart zone. It's time to go, go, go!
Scott Rankin with a good jump on the initial start, diving down into turn number 1, easily takes the lead over Aaron Raymond, who just pinches John Held down to the inside of the racetrack. Raymond's going to hold on to that second place spot. John Held is going to hold on to the third place position, and they're side by side right behind him. But no, they single file out before we get down into turn number 3. Top 5, all single file.
Single file for now. The top 2 on a huge breakaway, and now looking for side by side for third on back. Michael Gudger takes over the third spot. John Held dropping back, and he is under fire now by Jim Duda down to the low side. So the two Jims going at it, and now here comes Zane Bailey sticking one down the inside of that number 20 F-150. Paul with the points leader, bobbling a little bit in turn 2 that last time by, washed up the track, but kept it out of the wall.
Yeah, John Held going down into turn 3 on lap number 1, just missed the bottom of the racetrack, and now he's shucked out to the outside and losing positions fast. He's just looking to stop the bleeding at this point. Kind of looking still to the outside of Witt after he just made the move. But man, if I was John Held here, I'd get down to the bottom of the racetrack as soon as possible. And he does, down into turn number 1, just looking to defend here from Allen behind.
Got that battle on for that third position as well. Jim Duda on the move, looking to the inside of Michael Gudger, trying to put himself onto the podium. He's going to do so. Zane Bailey looking to file through as well. So the LSU Chevy Silverado going to drop back, and now a battle on for the lead. Raymond to the inside of Rankin, trying to take that top spot early on.
Yeah, and he's going to do it easily down into turn number 1, it looks like. Driving it down to the bottom, not actually able to clear Scott Rankin. Rankin fighting back on the outside. These two have absolutely driven away from the rest of the field over the course of the first 3 laps. I'd be a little bit worried that they'd be running a little bit too quick. 2 seconds over Jim Duda in the third place spot already as they battle side by side. Neither one of them willing to give up the lead. I'd be worried about those right front tires.
That's the kind of thing that might get you wondering if they got rocket fuel in the tanks, isn't it? I mean, the power they have down the straights to just run away with it. And they're still pulling a gap, even when they're side by side to the drivers behind. Aaron Raymond finally takes over that spot for the lead as Scott Rankin will drop back to the number 2 spot. He looked for the inside entering turn 3. Couldn't quite get there, though. So Aaron Raymond up in front, but here comes Rankin trying to battle back off of 4.
Just found the space on the exit of turn number 4. Scott Rankin back to the point just as we get to the stripe. The last 2 times around, these guys were separated by a combined 25 thousandths of a second. Super tight between these guys over the course of the last 2 laps. Rankin getting the lead back. But again, they're running so hard so early here. And I've said it in the pre-race. I think tire saving is going to be paramount here tonight. Zane Bailey looking to run these guys down, but currently still just kind of holding pace with our front 2, everybody from 3rd on back. But I feel like that's probably good for everybody from about 3rd to 7th.
We'll find out later on, won't we? See how the tire strategy is going to pan on now. It still do have a lot of side-by-side action in the midfield, like Charlie Birch and Selena Thompson going side-by-side. And now Dale Rapp takes down the inside of the 47 of John Held. Held continuing to slide back, and oh boy, just behind. I think that was Van Leer and Kolmansperger that nearly came together coming off of turn number 2, as they both washed up way wide in turn number 2. 3 wide in 4.
My word, these guys are racing like it's the last lap back here in the middle of the pack. Noah Swafford able to make it 3 wide on the outside. And John Held has just not been able to stop the bleeding. He started in the 3rd place spot. He's already fallen back all the way to 12th. I mean, he is dropping like a rock in the early going.
Yeah, no kidding. That car, or well, that truck tumbling like a stone. And you do have to wonder, right? I mean, how is this truck holding up in the long run? Lap 1 pace is not the same as a full stint, and no truer is that statement than at concrete tracks like Nashville and Dover. The way these tracks drive from each other are so different from one another, it is incredibly hard to compare them to any other track on the NASCAR calendar.
Oh, that's absolute facts. Dover is way different than anything else, and Nashville, it's the only mile and a third that we go to other than Darlington. I think Darlington's about that same, but Darlington and Nashville have absolutely nothing in common other than the length. And man, tight racing coming down into turn number 3. Almost a little bit of bumper contact. They just don't seem to be stacking up from about the 8th place on back. Held still trying to hold on a little bit further back, but good racing here early on from Nashville.
It is also worth noting that this is not a super long race, right? I mean, TNGG, they've been known to have some fairly long races in the past, right? And we're going to be having ourselves with some pretty long races going forward. Just kind of pulling up the schedule here on what we got coming on up. Next week, 252 miles at Talladega. So this is, by TNGG standards, this is a really short race. So it does make you wonder, right? I mean, how will that change the mindset of these drivers?
I think we're seeing a couple of them kind of be on full push immediately. I mean, we're already 10% into this race, right? So, I mean, this race is flying by so far. So we're seeing people push right from the drop of the green flag. Our front 2 have just absolutely pulled away, driving for everything their truck's worth. But everybody, even behind them, even behind Zane Bailey in 3rd, I feel like most of these guys are just running at full kilt right now instead of kind of holding back and saving. The only guy that I've seen really save is John Held, but I still feel like you can't drop that far that fast and expect the tires to bring you back up to the front. So I feel like John Held's kind of lost out a little bit too much, but I'm surprised to see a lot of these guys pushing as heavy as they are. Raymond, what happened to Scott Rankin? I see him on our timing and scoring now 2 seconds behind our race leader.
Well, he blinked out for a brief moment, and that was when Aaron Raymond took the lead away, and all of a sudden Rankin flashed in half a second later, but 2 seconds down. I think he had a screen freeze. When you have a little screen freeze, you do blink out like that, but critically as well, you're not moving forward at all. So that is why Raymond has now jumped up to the lead by 1.8 seconds over Scott Rankin, and Raymond's going to run away with this race now because of it.
Oh my goodness, that's a tough break there for Rankin. I mean, luckily for him, it didn't, drop him out of the race entirely, but you just hate to see that because they've been running so hard for the front 2 positions. One of the big advantages of running hard early is, being able to build a gap that hopefully is insurmountable whenever everybody else's tires catch up to yours. But for Rankin, who pushed really hard at the beginning of this thing, all that advantage just got wiped away in the blink of an eye. Now 1.7 seconds behind our race leader. Got to imagine if we get down to the long run of this thing, that could come into play to bite him, and he could potentially drop a couple more spots.
Looking back at a few of the other battles throughout the field, this is for 17th on back with Holiday, Groover, and Campbell. all tucked up line astern as they work out of turn 4 and back into the tri-oval. We are expecting for these guys to be coming down to pit road. I am anticipated within the next 20 laps or so. I know they're not long fuel runs, but remember these guys run, I think it's 60% fuel tank limitations now. They upped it from 55 last season, but not very long fuel stints. Last season's race, I believe, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong with this, but I believe it was a 3-stopper last season. I would not be surprised if it was similar tonight.
Well, it might be a 3-stopper, but they're only going to be able to change tires twice. We've got a 3-tire limit set limit. And, well, that means you can only come down to change tires twice. So I'm sure people are like, contact through 1 and 2. The LSU machine just about gets spun around. Michael Gudger able to save it. Oh, but the 81 behind him. Oh, what a save from the 81. Oh, he had it, man. He had that thing saved, and he just got ran over from behind. Tough break. Gudger had a great save, but unfortunately the 81 just got ran over after he had collected that machine.
That was Selena Thompson that hit Charlie Burge. That wouldn't have been a caution if it weren't for that. That's a bit of a shame, but Aaron Raymond will pick up the race late, and that giant 3-second gap completely annihilated back to Zane Bailey. I would not be surprised if we saw a few drivers coming down the pit road here.
I'd be willing to bet if you're absolutely correct about how many more laps they could go, I bet you everybody comes down and just takes fuel. There's no way you change tires after 17 laps if you only got 2 behind the pit wall. But to extend that fuel run, I imagine everybody's going to be coming down.
Well, sure enough, everyone coming down to pit road. And you mentioned having to only change, only having 2 sets of tires at the pits, right? Badger Racing, when they came out here last season, were only their 2nd race in TNGG competition with Ryan Dingler, Matt Cherry, and others. They said in the post-race interview that they did not know they were short a set of tires until they hit that short stop late in the race. And hey, taking that fuel stop later on did help them out because they only had 1 caution early on. And looking like fuel only is the call for pretty much everybody in the field.
Yeah, it just makes a lot of sense, and it really makes me think that everybody from 3rd on back was playing the long game and playing the smart game, because now this first stint has been extended because of this fuel stop, so at least the first stint on tires. And I think that's going to be huge for everybody that was saving under that first little bit. They got the caution to bring them back up to our 2 leaders that were pushing. So I think this is going to be a big break for Zane Bailey, Jim Duda, Paul Witt, all those guys that really weren't running quite as hard as our front 2. I think that this could be a pretty massive moment in the race.
And Charlie Burge just stepped that back end out as he was trying to avoid Michael Gudger. Swaver did a great job to avoid that, and Burge had that saved, and then just nowhere really for Selena Thompson to go. I mean, you saw it head on there, right? I mean, that truck was not straight. Thompson didn't know where he was going to go. It was a lot of indecision, and this field back here did a great job to get around that machine without making that any worse than it was.
And honestly, Selena Thompson did a great job holding on to that thing too, right? She had a car right in front of her that completely prevented her from being able to see the 81 spinning back up the racetrack until the last moment. Evasive maneuver, still a little bit of right front damage. That's fixable here on the trucks. So I believe Selena Thompson will be A-okay after getting the damage repair. Great save from Gudger. And even the 81, he got drilled in the back end, but I really feel like that's not even that terrible of damage, right? He's going to get that fixed, and I think he'll be A-okay too.
Let's ride on board with Selena Thompson, who had a front row seat to all of this. And this is what she saw out of the windshield, right? So she's got Van Leer right in front of her. Can't see. All of a sudden, oh, there's a truck. She did try to hit the brakes and avoid, but it's just, there's nowhere to go at that point. So that, again, it tells a story, right? It's not like Selena Thompson didn't try to avoid him. There was just no time for it.
Well, I think she got a little lucky. It looked like it ended up being netco damage for her on the right front because it flexed and then immediately fixed right afterwards. So Selena Thompson might not even have any damage on that 91. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. She's completely clean. She got very, very lucky with the net code there. The 81 not quite as lucky, I believe, on the back end, but he'll still be okay for the rest of the race.
Pace truck is off. We'll go green flag racing this time by. Nobody was a lap down, so a quick caution from Nashville Superspeedway. We're back to green as Aaron Raymond leads us back into the restart zone. I'm curious to see if drivers like Zane Bailey will be able to mount the charge now that Raymond's been reeled in and now that these tires have dropped off a good bit.
Oh, Bailey actually hits the apron there a little bit, scares Scott Rankin out into the 3rd groove, and he's going to stick him 3 wide for that 3rd place position. Rankin not where he wants to be here. They end up filing out to 2 wide as the 429 had a pretty poor exit, but Rankin still going to lose out on the spot to Jim Duda, who drives up to the 3rd place spot, trying to slide across the nose of Scott Rankin, and he does, but Rankin pulls the undercut on him coming out of the corner, and Rankin now back down to the inside.
Rankin going to battle back for that 3rd spot, see if he can make that lunge down the inside at turn number 1. Just behind Gutcher and points leader Paul Witt side by side as well. Raymond still out in front by about 2 truck lengths, but not enough that he has been able to really gap this field like he did early on in this race. 3 wide again, a little ways behind. Looking at Dale Rapp, Noah Swafford, and Mike Allen. Allen, the one that's caught right now in the middle.
Yeah, and Allen ends up losing out on those 2 spots. But, I mean, good 3 wide racing here on the restart at Nashville. Really lends itself to some pretty exciting restarts. We do get single filed out a little bit, but honestly, through that entire first run, we were seeing great battles from the midfield on back, and we're seeing it again after the restart. Just 2 by 2, just about all the way through the field, through the middle. Everybody just trying to get all they can at this point. But again, this could be the longest time that they run on tires the entire night. So they've got to keep saving them here in the early going of this fuel stint, because we still probably got about 35, 40 laps on offer for us on the tires.
Oh, yeah, and that's, oh, boy, Brad Slagle stuffing it in, nearly got to the back of Swafford, as well as that, Lamont Van Leer bullying his way past Mike Allen. Did you see that coming down into turn number 1 there?
I absolutely did not. I might have been looking at our race leader getting caught by Zane Bailey, so I got caught off with that one.
Take a look at this as Van Leer just stuffed it in there and shoved Allen out wide of the 29.
Yeah, he said, that's my position. I'm going to take it right now. He was not willing to race for it. He just wanted it right then. Oh, man, just about 3 wide into the corner. The 053 thinks better of it to make sure that he just gives plenty of space there. I believe that's Brad Slagle. It might be the 052, but the 60 ends up making a good move there. Van Leer moving up over the course of the last couple laps. Selena Thompson, involved in that last accident, still up in the 7th place position. Didn't have any damage on that 91, and she's still pushing forward, looking to take a spot from Scott Rankin.
Working lap 25 of 113 this afternoon. That is Dale Rapp in the 52 truck that's working his way into turn numbers 1 and 2. Van Leer tracking up, and oh, he's getting a run there down the back straightaway. Trying to see if he can set something up in turn 3. Rapp takes that defensive line and almost thought about going for an offensive move down the inside of Thompson, but couldn't make the lunge. Up the road, Jim Duda making the pass on Bailey for 2nd.
Yeah, Duda getting that move done relatively quick, dove it down to the inside of turns 3 and 4, and quickly took that position away from Zane Bailey. Duda's looking very, very quick at this point in the run. About 21, 22 laps on tires in terms of green flag running, and Duda is starting to float himself up towards the front of the pack. He could be challenging Aaron Raymond here in just a handful of laps.
Take a look on the lap times and how they compare over these last 4 green flag laps. So we'll check again, this time by at the line. It's at the end of lap number 27. How about that? Actually lost a couple of hundredths that time by. So Duda pulling out a little bit, but you see how much was closing in, at least initially off the jump. So I wonder if maybe Duda burned all of his stuff up just trying to get to a point where he could battle for position.
Oh, just about contact between Gutcher there and Lear. I thought they were going to be wrecking going down to the turn number 3. Gutcher tried to get that last second side draft. But Van Leer here in the 60 is pushing up towards the front of the field, up to the 5th place spot.
And well, as I say, Duda might be dropping back. He's going to make me eat my words here as he immediately reels in 0.2 of a second on that last lap alone. And that's another half a tenth already, 1 and 2. Duda is there and ready to put that 053 Team IEL truck onto the point.
He dove it in there. He makes Aaron Raymond. He gets into the left rear quarter panel. What a save by Aaron Raymond, able to keep that number 6 straight, but he does lose the lead to Jim Duda. Now Zane Bailey looking to the inside. Bailey might be able to get into the inside of both of them for the race lead.
This is an intense battle here for the race lead as Zane Bailey trying to fend him off. Now here comes Raymond. Look at Van Leer driving around the outside, trying to make a 3-wide overtake for the lead. Won't get there. Aaron Raymond maintains in that 2nd spot as Van Leer's run stalls. And I don't know if Raymond's going to be too happy about that from Jim Duda, as boy, that got aggressive. Down to the turn numbers 3 and 4. Van Leer around the outside. Duda starting to pull away.
Lieben Van Neer is absolutely flying up the pack at this moment. I mean, goodness gracious, he's come from the 16th place spot all the way up to second, and he just had that one little caution in the middle to help him out. Doing a great job saving the tires in the early. Well, actually, you know what? I bet you he took tires under that last caution.
Probably, yeah, which is why we see him now running up in the front here. And here comes Van Leer driving his way through. Now, Van Leer, he did not take 4. He was in the pits for 9 seconds, though, 9.9. I think he's got 2 fresh right sides on that number 16.
I think that's a safe bet. We'll have to see how that works out. Might be a little, I don't know, man. That's a tough strategy call to make. It looks good right now, but I'd be a little bit worried a little bit later in the race. But here it is, Van Neer trying to take the lead on those 2 freshies.
Duda still holds the inside of the left rear quarter panel. He drives it deep into turn 3, trying to see if he can make the run work. Van Leer tracking up and wide, though, off a turn numbers 3 and 4. He's got the fresh right sides to make it work. He'll clear for the race lead and try to make that run down into turn at numbers 3 and 4. Going to try to get a look back on that aggressive move that saw Jim Duda put himself up into the lead of this race, and it's coming around turn numbers 3 and 4, and well, that was after the pass had already occurred. Try to get a better look back at this one, and that again just after it happened. There's been so much. I'm trying to find the right one. There it is. Look at how far sideways Raymond's truck gets here in the middle of the corner. That should absolutely have been a wreck. That's a testament of driving to both of these trucks.
Yeah, and Duda, like you mentioned, a testament for both of them. Duda did a good job keeping off of them after that. It was a pretty late dive into turn 3, late on the brakes from Duda, that kind of put Aaron Raymond off. A bit of a dive bomb, but I don't know. It was tough to call on the entry to the corner whether Raymond just came down way too late or whether Duda just dive bombed the heck out of it. Luckily, we don't have to be talking about a race-ending incident for either of these guys. Instead, they just they're okay. Raymond might have a little bit of excrement in his pants, and he's falling back a little bit further back, but he's A-okay as well in that 4th place spot, but I'm sure that those tires are not feeling good.
And Van Leer all of a sudden dropped with a lot of time. You saw him blink out and tumble down the order, so Van Leer having a brief technical issue, and that has allowed for Duda to reel that gap back in up to 0.2 of a second. I think Van Leer will still be able to drive this gap back out, considering he does again have those 2 fresh right side tires. But showing that if one thing goes wrong, both Jim Duda and Paul Witt, they're not going to be too far away waiting to capitalize.
And I don't know how accurate this is, but Aaron Raymond just hit the pitting in button that puts a text chat out to everybody. So going to be interesting to see if Raymond comes down pit road already. He's coming down.
That'd be a tire stop, I'd reckon, because we're nowhere near the fuel window.
No, this is a weird stop from Raymond. Now, well, he's got a friend coming down with him. So Mick Roberts coming down. No, sorry, not Mick Roberts. The 26 of Noah Swafford coming down. But I don't know. I understand trying to split this race in thirds. This is a little early for that, and we had a caution period. So I'm not high on this decision from Raymond. But I mean, hey, he's been in the series longer than I have. He has to deal with the tire sets. So I mean, I'll default it to him until I know for a fact that it's wrong.
I think that's fair. That's a fair assumption.
I'm questionable. It's questionable.
Well, I mean, he's made some what I deemed to be questionable calls before and made them work. Last season in the first race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, oh my goodness, I nearly running over Van Leer coming down to turn number 3. But last season at Vegas, near the start of the season, under green flag conditions, he only ever took he took left side tires on his first stop only. Then he took right side the stop after. And he kept alternating that all throughout. That strategy, believe it or not, helped get him half a lap on second place. The only reason why he lost that race by 3 thou was because of a late race caution that forced the race into overtime, putting the field on the rest of the tires, and he could not make up the time on a short run, on a short 2-lap run. But Raymond is he's a pretty big strategy guru who's made some unorthodox calls that have really paid off before. So I'm curious to see what he's got coming.
Yeah, and I hope it runs green so that we can figure it out. I'm shocked that he pitted so early. I mean, like I said, it is splitting the race in thirds. So I guess if you really look at it on the timing sheets, he's probably gonna look pretty good off of this strategy move. But you know what? Well, the more I think of the math, the more I'm kind of in his corner, if I'm being honest.
It's one of those situations where it doesn't make a lot of sense initially, but you put a little bit of thought into it, and then you realize he's onto something. But that's the thing, right? I mean, he has these gamed out way in advance, and for a good chunk of this field, they're not going to make those realizations until it's too late because they're all concentrating on their own races, their own strategies. They don't have, oh boy, look out as Slagle gets into the wall twice on the back straightaway. But again, they don't have the time that we do to really put a lot of thought into those strategies and how it plans out and to go into the deep dive analysis. So they got their own strats to worry about.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, just thinking of the math, I think this works out great, but that only works if this thing stays green. A caution completely ruins this for Aaron Raymond. He'd have to take up the wave around whenever everybody else comes down pit road to get 4 fresh tires, so he'd be behind everybody and on worn tires. So there's a risk to it, but if this race runs green all the way to the finish, I gotta be honest, I'm in Aaron Raymond's corner now. I think he wins the thing.
It is a fairly huge gamble, right? And it is very much reliant on the fact that these races run green. But the fact is, these races do run green for pretty much a good chunk of them. I mean, Daytona, right? 93 laps, only had 3 cautions. Atlanta Motor Speedway, 134 laps, only 6 cautions. Iowa Speedway, only 6 yellows. We don't talk about Bristol. It totally did not have 20 plus cautions. New Hampshire Motor Speed, okay. New Hampshire had a few, but Charlotte Motor Speedway last week, a mile-and-a-half race, caution-free, 133 laps, not a single yellow flag in sight. And he finished second in that race. So he definitely has got the possibility to have some good runs. Second place, and only 15, and he led 98 laps of that race as well. So again, there's some pretty good moves that could be said for Raymond's strategies.
Oh, and that wow that you heard come out of me in the middle of that was because Jim Duda almost absolutely destroyed Lieben van Neer down into turn number 1. Instead, coming out of turn 2 and down into 3, able to take that position away from Van Leer. I think that Leer just hurt those right side tires coming up through the field, coming all the way from the back, and he's starting to pay the price for it now that guys on older tires are actually able to run him back down and pass him for the race lead, and potentially for second place is Paul Witz to his inside as well.
This is what happened to Duda and Van Leer. That was on lap 42. And then on 43, just a little while later, we saw this then happen. This is, I think, what you were referring to down to turn 3 as Duda took that one down low on the back straightaway. And from there, Paul Witt was able to pretty easily get up and around Van Leer as Van Leer kind of dropped back. And, oh, you're not wrong. I mean, they did get a little bit closer, especially coming off of turn number 4. Van Leer has slipped back to 3rd. Paul Witt up to the number 2 spot. It's a tight battle for the lead, very much unlike what we saw in that first big stint of the race.
Yeah, Duda, Witt, Lear all seem to be relatively even pace. Lear here, though, I do believe is going to start falling off. I just think he blew off those new right sides whenever he was coming through the pack. Now losing out to 2 drivers on older tires. Everybody from about, 7th on back, though, is really held up in a pack. Or at least a couple, tiny packs between 3 or 4 drivers with very little separation between them. And we're having some really good racing from about that position on back. The 29, though, coming down to pit road. Did he spin it out coming in? Oh, no.
I thought
Never
for
mind.
a moment he did. I'm trying to track down because I thought that may have been Dale Rapp, but Rapp with a big moment in turn 3. He has dropped all the way from 10th down to past 17th.
There's a car almost stopped coming out of turn number 4. What in the world?
What happened there?
Oh, big issue between Scott Rankin and Zane Bailey.
No kidding. What is going on in this race all of a sudden?
Oh, and the yellow's
out. Oh, boy, we got Waylon McConnell around, and Brad Slagle's been put in the wall.
I mean, in the course of a lap,
what the heck happened?
Everything's just evolved in the course of the last lap. That completely screws Aaron Raymond, by the way. We were talking about being on his side. Well, that caution hurts him bad. And it almost came a lap earlier. Zane Bailey just got into the back of Scott Rankin, who I think was coming to pit road. They both managed to save it, kind of. Rankin saved it. Zane Bailey put it in the fence. And I think that with them getting stacked up, it caused everybody else to stack up a little bit closer and very well could have caused this incident down to turn 1.
So we'll try to get a look on what happened here. This was on 46 going to 47, right?
Yes. Oh, my goodness. Aaron Raymond screwed himself. He's the one that caused the accident.
Oh, no.
He ran over the 052 coming into turn 1. I mean, absolutely destroyed him.
So tracking down, oh boy, okay, well there we saw the moment with Scott Rankin coming around turn. We saw the tail end of it. This will be a better look here. The Wanagoons Clutch 1 F-150.
Oh, he's pitting.
Oh yeah, and that's a pretty hefty lick at the outside wall, and that forced Rankin to go around again. And I think Aaron Raymond should get the lucky dog free pass to get himself back onto the lead lap. So
he caused the accident. So no.
Oh, right.
He caused the caution.
Yeah, so he can't even pit this time. He's got to stay out if he wants to get that lead lap back.
Yeah, and that look at that. There's the wave around going around now.
That'd be Swafford that got the lead, the wave around.
Wow. Even if he would have gotten the lucky dog, he still would have been screwed because there's no way he could take tires on this pit stop. No way. You got to save him for later. So just the caution coming out, period, is terrible for Raymond. And
Van Leer doubling down on 2 tires, 9.3 seconds.
Wow. Okay. Do you think there's no way he took rights again? No way.
Probably lefts this time, I had to reckon. Mike Campbell possibly taking 2 tires. He's up to 4th on an 8.8 second pit stop. I'm not sure if that's fast enough or if that's slow enough for 2 tires. That might have been fuel only, but pretty much everybody else out on all 4 tires. Let's get a look at what happened now to Brad Slagle.
Yeah, this Slagle saw the faster tires coming up on him and gave Aaron Raymond a lot of room to the bottom of 1 and 2. And Raymond just didn't really choose to take it. I don't really know how else to call this wreck. He's on the newer tires by a lot over Brad Slagle, and he just drove in there and took out Slagle. Obviously, Raymond's not trying to do that because he needs the race to run green more than anybody. Huge contact there between the 75 and Slagle. But man, it ends up being questionable decision-making on Aaron Raymond's part.
These 2 drivers have history, too. They've come to blows a few times on the racetrack, so it's no love lost between Slagle and Raymond. And gosh, that is a lick for Waylon McConnell. And Aaron Raymond ended the longest line at fault for the contact deemed by our in-house race control.
There's nothing he can do. He's turning the wheel as much left as he really can.
Well,
you know,
those wheels practically locked up as well, trying to get it slowed down.
Yeah, but that's the problem. If you get them locked up, then you're definitely not turning. That might be what we saw from the 75 of Waylon McConnell. But I mean, he's committed to that outside line. You can see how much he had the wheel turn trying to get it down the racetrack, but unfortunately for him, he just could not get it turned down the banking, and he just went hard into the side of Slagle there.
So Van Leer remains on the racetrack. We'll take ourselves a step back. We are just shy of halfway in the TNGG IEL Truck Series in the Music City 150 from Nashville Superspeedway. Lights out aboard the iRacing pace car. We'll go 1 lap to green. Levon Van Leer on that 2-tire strategy. We believe he took right sides on his first stop and left sides on this stop.
I just checked. You're correct.
Haha. So we'll see if this will pan out for Van Leer. I don't think it will, personally, because pretty much all of the field behind, save for Mike Campbell and Noah Swafford, are out on all fresh 4 tires.
Yeah.
I think all this is going to do for Van Leer is mitigate how much he loses.
Well, if he took rights this time, I would say that he could maintain for a while. 5-10 laps, he could maybe maintain to Larry's lead. With it being lefts, nah, no way. He'll be a sitting duck.
I mean, and you didn't really have a choice, right? I mean, you don't want to come down to an overtime attempt if it comes to it and find just not only have as a fresh of left side tires in the box. I mean, you want to have that fresh set of 4 for a situation like that. Green flag out this time. Van Leer hopping to it. We're back to green.
Ooh, Selena Thompson throwing a block a little bit further back on, I believe, Rankin. Able to hold on to that spot, trying to make it 3 wide to the outside. No, just clips the 71, who goes way up the racetrack, coming back down. Selena Thompson's going to take that position away from Campbell. Campbell on the older tires did not get a good jump. He gets the 47 gets turned by Rankin coming out of turn number 2. That's off in the grass. Oh, but they're Rankin bigger behind him.
That's the big one, I think, coming off of turn number 4. One truck slides with a stop. That's Swafford, the lucky draw driver. You got the 29 truck way down low in the infield. That's Mike Allen that is stopped down low in the Team Alpha 1 machine. I think John Held is the one that got spun around to really kick this off. That was a weird wreck coming around turn 4. 2.
They wrecked in like 3 different places at the same time. I don't know what to tell you. I feel like there were just multiple accidents that all just kicked off within the span of about 5 seconds, and none of them really had anything to do with each other.
So John Held clipped the apron, bobbled up, and Scott Rankin ran Held over coming off of turn 2. And then behind, you see the 40 get hooked into the wall, and McRoberts cleaned Allen out. You're right.
Yeah.
Raymond got then tagged by Jim Duda. There goes Allen spearing down to the inside, and I'm pretty sure he slammed that inside wall based on the tire tracks and the speed that he shot out of frame.
He slammed it with the back end, and yeah, it was 3 accidents that all happened at the exact same time. I mean, that's crazy. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. I mean, none of them had anything to do with each other.
Roberts got loose and just cleaned out Swafford. Then, Allen struck a spinning Zach Groover, and that's what spun him into the inside wall.
And Swafford had just gotten the lucky dog to get back on the lead lap 2, and now he's got a destroyed truck on the outside, or sitting up against the fence in turn 2.
And Groover just got loose. I think all that was just caused by cold tires. Every one of it.
If we were in real life, I would be questioning if there was oil on the racetrack.
I mean, honestly.
Like, what in the world just happened? And it all kicked off on the restart, too. We saw Thompson get into the back of Campbell, and then the entirety of turn 1 and 2 was just mayhem. I mean, what in the world did we see on that restart?
Holy cow.
Rankin's so lucky. Sorry, not Rankin. The 47 is so lucky he did not get absolutely destroyed. John Held sitting off in the grass. That had to have been so close between the 47 and 29.
No kidding. This is again with McRoberts. Watch McRoberts here. He's just going to get loose. He misses the 29. Well, he hits the 29. That kicked him up into Swafford. And that's what put Swafford to the outside. That is a strange wreck. And Swafford having to drive to a stop. So let's recap. 3 different incidents. Zachary Groover crashed. No, it really kicked off with John Held getting run over by Scott Rankin on the exit of turn 2. That was the first incident. The second incident was caused by Zachary Groover, who just got loose, overcorrected into the outside wall. The third incident, Ryan McRoberts got loose. He clipped the 29 truck of Mike Allen. That sent Mike Allen around. He slammed into Groover, who was already practically stopped, then spun and slammed the inside wall. Meanwhile, I know, right? I mean, when you have to dissect it this much. Then McRoberts gets kicked up into Noah Swafford, who puts them both at the outside wall. That's got to be one of the weirdest chain reaction wrecks I think I've ever seen in my life.
I feel like we're calling one of the multi-class races in the VSCA Sports Car Championship with just a bunch of randomness all kicking off at the same time. I mean, it was just, I don't know. I don't really have any way to describe what we just saw off at turn number 2. Aaron Raymond, though, involved in that incident again, so he's not going to get the free pass again. I think Slagle was the one that ended up being the beneficiary, getting himself back on the lead lap. Still a good bit of damage from the 0.52 off of that last incident, I'm sure, but at least back on the lead lap, giving himself a chance to potentially pick up some positions, unlike Aaron Raymond, who's still stuck a lap down and in that championship fight. So this could be a massive blow to Aaron Raymond's championship hopes.
Aaron Raymond, I think, is only in a bad position anyway because of his finishing position at Daytona, right, where he finished all the way down in 30th in the season opener of this series. Ooh. So I'm not, but then again, 2 drop weeks as well. So this could also very easily be one of those 2 weeks that he drops.
Yeah, but you would hate to use it at a track where he obviously had a lot of speed at, right? He was running up at the front. And, typically whenever I run leagues with drops, I'm thinking, okay, I can afford to have a bad race at New Hampshire because I suck at New Hampshire. But, man, I go to Dover or I go to Charlotte, and if I finish 25th or 30th, I'm frustrated as heck, man. So for Raymond, I imagine he's got to be feeling somewhat similar here, getting relegated all the way to the back of the pack at a racetrack that he seems to be pretty quick at.
Well, the lights are out on the Irising Pace truck, and we will go green this time by on what has been one of the weirdest series of laps I've ever seen. We just ticked over the halfway mark as well, this lap by as well, when they reached that back straightaway at 56.5 laps. So it's a straight shot to the end of this race if this goes green. I think we've got one pit stop window left in us, and then we might be good to go to the end.
Yeah, everybody's still going to have to pit one more time, take those 4 freshies that everybody still has, and we're getting ready to restart with Van Leer still holding on to that race lead on the 2 left side tires.
We'll see if he'll continue to hang on for that lead. Pace truck is off. Green flag's out. We are back to racing. And Field hightails it down to turn number 1.
This is where I feel like Van Leer is going to have a tough time. Stuck down on the bottom of the racetrack. He's not going to be able to use the entirety of that racetrack to hold on to the position, as he does not have the fresh right side tires. He's just not going to be able to have the grip around the corner to get the throttle down without pushing that front end up the racetrack. And we see it right here entering turn number 3 into the side of Michael Gudger. Gets a little loose, able to hold on to it. And that's not too surprising, though, being stuck down on the bottom on the 2 tires.
So Van Leer drops to 5th in just 1 lap. Duda and Gudger, the 2 drivers that broke away, and they're seeing if they can't make a run further up the road. And how about that? I mean, Michael Gudger, he's got a momentum run going here on Jim Duda, looking for the inside. Duda trying to block down the back straightaway, but Gudger not going to be denied. He shoots down low, steals that spot away, and I think Duda lifted a bit early there to help facilitate that pass.
I think he did for sure. Gudger made it look really, really aggressive with how far he drove into it, but Duda definitely lifted down the back straightaway, making it a little bit easier. I think he knows that, yeah, this run isn't going to be as long, and they're going to be able to put on 4 fresh tires at some point, a lot quicker than they were able to the first time. But you still got to save them a little bit for the end of this run. The first 5 laps are the most important in terms of saving tires. If you abuse them too much in the first 5, it really doesn't matter what you do over the last 20. You are going to be hurting, and I think Duda just thought better of hurting his tires there, but he's actually losing out to another position. Paul Witt getting to the inside of him for second as they battle further back as well.
Zachary Groover pulling into pit road, this time by the driver, the number 40, may very well be down and out, while Mike Allen has already been the first driver to be retired from this race. Duda not able to make the pass back on Witt, as now Scott Rankin looking like he wants to try to find a way through. Behind Holiday, Van Leer, side by side as Van Leer continues to go on the backslide. 3 wide in the trial.
Yeah, Zane Bailey trying to use the apron to get down to the inside, making a 3-wide battle. Not quite able to do it down the front straightaway. Just going to allow Holiday to get past Leer here on the older tires, and then he'll just queue up and get on by as well on the inside. Van Leer really struggling on those left sides. I think he really needed the race to run green off of that 2-tire strategy to give him any type of opportunity here in the race. Unfortunately, that caution came out, and with the 2-tire left side or two left side tire call, it just seems to have all exploded in his face. But Paul Witt looking to the inside here of Michael Gudger for the race lead.
Paul Witt takes the lead away as Gudger trying to slip in between Rankin and Witt in that second position. And Scott Rankin had his outside run compromised. Well, he had his exit line compromised by Gudger being right where he was. That does allow for Michael Gudger to hang on to P2 for now. But you can see Rankin looking for a high then low line, trying to dime it off these corners to see if he can get that big drive down the straights to make him move to push his way further up the field. He's making that look now to the inside of Gudger, going for second.
Yeah, Rankin has been extremely quick here on the short runs. We saw him run out to that huge lead on the first stint. I imagine here in the next couple laps, he's going to be taking the spot from Gudger, because Rankin just seems content with running a little hard at the beginning of these runs and just having to hold on to it later. Like I mentioned, super quick on that first run. So you got to think Rankin's going to be able to find a little bit more pace to potentially get up here for the race lead, but he probably does have a little bit of rear end damage to deal with off of that pit entry that he had earlier, where he got ran over by Zane Bailey.
In the midst of this big battle for the lead, you've got also all of those fights down the racetrack that are still coming to a head as well, as Scott Rankin will now look to the inside of the LSU 64 Silverado, trying to see if he can steal second. He does. So Scott Rankin up to the number 2 spot, immediately blocks a cutback attempt from Gudger to the inside of the tri-oval. Now we'll see what Rankin can do trying to run down Paul Witt. Rankin's good on the long runs, so if anybody's going to be able to get around Paul Witt, it should be him, while drivers elsewhere continue to duke it out side by side on the racetrack.
Man, I know I'm supposed to be unbiased in the commentary booth, but man, I really hope I see that 64 hard into the outside wall at some point tonight. I can't stand that paint scheme. It's ugly.
Let me guess. You have a thing against LSU?
Roll Tide, buddy. Roll Tide. We're side by side for the race lead. Scott Rankin to the inside. Takes it over from Paul Witt. Great move there from Rankin, but gets a little tight coming out of the corner. It's going to open the door back up for Paul Witt on the inside as that ugly LSU machine drops back to fourth.
I'm assuming it's a college football thing.
Oh, yeah, buddy. Big time.
Yeah, that's why I have no idea what you're talking about. Rankin driving up around the outside of turn 4. Tried to look low. It didn't happen. Now trying to see if he can size up the pass around the outside. Driving in deep into turn numbers 1 and 2. Seeing if he cannot pick the move off. And I think it might get him here coming down the back straightaway into turn 3.
He's got the side draft. Paul Witt does on Rankin, but Rankin has just been really good on the short runs, man. I think Rankin's going to completely complete this pass here sooner rather than later. Actually does not have a good 3 and 4 though. Still side by side to the line. Both these guys running extremely hard, and somebody that hasn't been at the beginning end of this run is Jim Duda right behind him. He was perfectly content with dropping a couple positions off the restart, and now he's starting to be pretty daggum quick, running down our 2 leaders who are just still battling side by side. This is going to destroy the front tires on both these guys, and Jim Duda is just licking his chops saying, oh yeah, run off those right front tires, guys. Just go ahead and do it. I'll just bide my time back here in third and let you guys play around.
Scott Rankin finally completes the pass out of turn number 4. Shoots that one to the inside and picks off the spot from Paul Witt. Jim Duda will be back in third, and now we'll see what he can do as he'll no doubt start to pile on the pressure. Turn up the wick, side by side just behind with Dale Rapp almost into the side of Selena Thompson.
Thompson able to take that 6th place position though, or hold on to it over the 52 of Dale Rapp. Rapp right back into the tire tracks of the 91. Super tough racetrack to sit in the dirty air, I gotta say. Nashville with relatively flat banking compared to most mile and a third, mile and a half types of racetracks that are shaped like this. So it makes it difficult. Oh, Dale Rapp just about to the inside, almost into the left rear quarter panel of Selena Thompson down to the turn number 1, has to lift, and that's going to allow Selena Thompson to pull away down the back straightaway and put Dale Rapp under pressure from Holiday in the 9.
Holiday looks to the inside, tries to lick the step and send it down the inside. Contact again as Dale Rapp gets into the door of the 9, and Rapp falling back now to 8th as he is at risk of losing the top 10, I think. I think he's burned those right fronts out trying to get around Thompson, because here comes Coleman'sberger now with the big run.
Yeah, the 52 is sliding. He's struggling. You can just tell through the center of the corner he cannot quite get on the gas as early as everybody else. Coleman'sberger too, his inside down the back straightaway. Just going to dive it down into turn number 3 and take the position. Move the 11 car up to the 8th place spot. Finally, the 52 able to find the bottom side of the racetrack, trying to wrap the corner and build his momentum back up. But like you mentioned, I think he might have just hurt that right front tire a little bit too much, and he's been struggling up front though. Paul Witt is not letting Scott Rankin get away. He is all over the truck bed there of the 49.
Trying to see what he can do as Paul Witt has got Scott Rankin very much in his sights. Diving down into turn number 3 and 4 again, taking that wider arcing line. Witt's been studying Rankin's moves about when he was trying to go for the overtake on Jim Duda, and he is mirroring them to perfection. Look at the overspeed down the front straightaway, looking for the outside line into turn number 1.
Yeah, the 429 is just getting a straighter run off the corners than the 49, and that's a tough thing to do whenever you're stuck in the tire tracks, but he's been finding a very good late apex type of run around these corners, and now he entered the corner on the outside, gonna end it on the inside of the 49, coming down to the turn number 3 side by side. Paul Witt gonna dive down into the race lead down in turn number 3, takes it away from Scott Rankin and covers off the run back from Rankin on the exit.
Rankin looking high, looking low, trying to find a way around. Can't open up the door though down to turn 1. Paul Witt secures the lead as we tick over to 40 laps to go. The sun has now set from the Nashville Superspeedway. That track temperature is going to be going down as well, and that's no doubt going to be helping these drivers pick up the pace a little bit.
Yeah, we'll probably see the pace increase a little bit. We'll probably start seeing more tight conditions than loose, with the grip going up a little ways, especially with the added benefit of being able to drive into the corner a little bit deeper. You might run off that right front tire a little bit harder entering these corners. Seems to be a right front heavy track. Oh, contact through 3 and 4. The 81 gets shipped out to the outside. Able to hold on to it and stay in this side-by-side battle down the front straightaway. Burst just about got put in the outside wall by Buwalda.
John Buwalda Jr., Charlie Birch. Oh, no! And Buwalda is hooked hard into the outside wall. I'm not going to say much, but that did not look pretty.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy. They just made contact the corner prior. Could that have been some aggression potentially boiling over? Oh, dear.
Look, that was such minor contact through 3 and 4. It really didn't warrant that reaction at all.
Taking a look back, I'm sure that will be one that will be for the race control booth, both in and post-race. Birch turns in, and golly, that's the hardest hit we've had all race.
That's I'm gonna have to keep my mouth shut on that one. I don't really have anything nice to say about that move. That was pretty dirty.
Taking a look back, and we'll jump this back a little bit further. It'll be a little ways back, but this is about the lap preceding. So this is the lead up, and this is at speed as well. Watch Buwalda here as they get down to the turn number 3. So he lunges it down low. Charlie Birch, pinches him in. Buwalda trying to hold it in, but Birch is pinching it pretty heavily down to the inside. I didn't see anything wrong. That's just hard racing at a track like this. Birch continuing to pinch, and then pinch too much, and in goes Buwalda to the outside wall.
Oh boy, well, that throws this race for a big loop, and that's an understatement. I'm trying to figure out everybody down pit road, see if everybody took 4, kind of looking at it. Oh man, every time I look at that replay, I just cringe a little bit. But most drivers, I believe, just took gas on this pit stop.
Looking like Aaron Raymond took 4 tires. No, sorry, they have not pitted at all this run. You saw the onboard look from Charlie Birch as well. But Aaron Raymond and Jeff Gilmore both staying out. They did not come down to pit road. Well, Gilmore's coming in now. Okay, fair enough. Maybe
some people just like to be difficult.
Well, so is John Held, and here are all the other drivers that are coming down who did not come down to pit road the last time by. I wonder.
Could this be a little bit of fuel play? Like maybe they're right on the edge of their window?
Well, you're probably right, actually. 36 laps, that'd be about right at the edge of that fuel window. I also wonder if maybe they don't know if they took tires at all. Trying to verge to the end of the longest line. I think that's a fair call for the at-fault contact. And we'll see if there'll be anything added on to that post-race. But, Raymond taking tires. Interesting. So Raymond going to take a set of Goodyears and go all the way to the back. I wonder if maybe these guys don't know if these guys took tires or not. The top 4 are on fuel only. Selena Thompson is on 2. Rankin on back. They're also on 4.
Well, it's anybody's guess how this restart's going to go. I'm going to tell you that right now because I got no idea. With a couple people on old tires, a couple people on 2 tires, or one person on 2 tires, and the rest of the field on 4. This is going to be a very hairy restart. We thought that one coming out of turn number 2 a handful of laps ago was crazy. This one, we're going to see people using all 4 or 5 lanes of the racetrack.
Hey, you have a racetrack. You got to use the racetrack. We call that in the racing world getting your money's worth.
It's very rare that you see somebody rip the fence at Nashville, though. It's not the best line in the world, but, if you're passing a bunch of guys on old tires, you can definitely go up there and make it work, and I'd be willing to bet through 1 and 2 we see somebody in that outside line on 4 fresh tires do something crazy to take a couple of these positions away from our front runners.
I do not believe, though, that call me crazy on this one. I do not believe that we'll be seeing a Hail Melon at Nashville Superspeedway, though.
No, well, somebody might.
It doesn't work.
Who knows? We'll see on the. We'll see if we can get a green white checkered, and maybe some of these guys that stayed out this time will be able to put on tires on the last one, and maybe that's their only chance whenever it comes down to it.
race truck will work into turn numbers 3 and 4. We'll go back to green flag racing. 34 laps to go. As Paul Witt will work us into the Geico restart zone. Green flag is out. We are underway.
Gonna have to see how those old tires do at the front of the field. Can Selena Thompson get through on the 2 fresh tires and establish herself as the race leader? Does somebody on 4 tires get through first? Selena trying to find a way past Zane Bailey. Oh, a little bit further back. Is that the 52 getting sideways? Able to hang on to it. Dale Rapp holds on to that thing, but slides all the way back towards the back of the pack, or towards the midfield, and he is getting absolutely swarmed down into turn number 3. Selena Thompson is still trying to work her way up on the outside of Zane Bailey. She gets super tight behind Jim Duda coming out of turn number 4, but she's got the run on Zane Bailey. Moves Selena Thompson up to the 3rd place spot, and Scott Rankin on the 4 fresh tires trying to follow her through.
Thompson trying to drive around the top lane. Jim Duda and Paul Witt also looking to absolutely gun it as they try to work off the top shelf of turn numbers 1 and 2. Oh, into the outside wall for one truck in the back. I believe that may have been Swafford. Team IEL runs 1-2, but here comes Selena Thompson with fresh 2 tires. Drives around the outside of Jim Duda. And Scott Rankin, I think, is just trying to use her as a pick, right? He's using her to help him drive himself up to the front as well.
Yeah, and I think he's still got to be careful because this is going to be a very long run on tires for these guys, so you still got to save them. And I think that's what we're seeing from Rankin just a little bit. But Selena Thompson is not content with running in 2nd, not content with running in 3rd. She's to the outside of race leader Paul Witt entering turn number 3. And those 2 tires are going to push the 91 up to the lead.
To the point goes Selena Thompson. You've not seen this truck in the lead for a good while, and I believe she is still hunting for her first win in at least 2 years. I do not believe she found herself in victory lane at all last season, but boy, there were some efforts. So Selena Thompson trying to see if she can find herself with a good race win on this afternoon. Meanwhile, almost a bit of 3 wide behind with drivers like Dale Rapp and Holiday still going at it, rapidly trying to fight his way back to the field. Ben Lear getting around Zane Bailey. The punches take it back to the top 5.
Yeah, Rapp had that really bad restart, or at least coming out of turn 2, just about spun the thing, lost a handful of positions. He's just trying to recover. Zane Bailey is just trying to hold on the old tires. He was the furthest back runner of the 4 tires on the restart, I believe, and he is dropping like a rock back to the 7th place spot. Groover's looking to his inside, entering turn number 3. Tough to stop the bleeding whenever you don't have any weapons to do it with. I mean, my goodness, you got the old tires and everybody else on the new tires. There's just nothing you can really do. You're along for the ride.
Just along for the ride, and that is, I think, the sentiment that's going on. Quite a few drivers in this field right now is everybody trying to get themselves sorted. Aaron Raymond on those fresh tires has not made up nearly as much time as I think he might have expected. He is up to 13th now, but that is not nearly quick enough to fight his way back to the race with only 30 laps to go.
Oh, Paul Witt from 3rd place just clobbered the apron, opens up the door, but up front, Scott Rankin taking the lead away from Selena Thompson. Those 4 fresh tires are starting to help the 49, and he's found himself back up into the race lead. Selena Thompson having to settle for 2nd for now. Still, I like the strategy call so far. It's looking pretty good for Selena.
If they can get her some good point scoring positions, I'm sure she'll take them, as we see Jim Duda, Paul Witt, and more. Oh, wrap to the inside of Duda, down to 3 and 4, and nearly contact. Rapp able to track that one out to the outside wall, picks up 3rd. Duda just behind it. Look at the Hornet's Nest behind. 3 wide, almost 4 down the front straightaway.
Yeah, they all file it back out to 2 wide before we get down into turn number 1. Aaron Raymond still trying to make up places after his abysmal first 50 laps where just nothing seemed to go his way off the strategy call. Just trying to recover up to the 9th place spot, so he's doing a good job getting up towards the front of the field as he's looking to the inside and taking the position away from Zane Bailey. Good recovery from Raymond so far. Still 27 laps to go to figure this thing out. 26 at the line.
Oh boy, Coleman'sberger nearly getting into the side of Swafford on the front straightaway. Swafford as well has had that truck put through the ringer this afternoon. So to see him back on the lead lap and now fighting for top 10 positions, it's good to see, showing that that truck still has got a lot of pace in it.
Goodness gracious. I mean, it's just a hornet's nest. These guys just will not give any room back here. Zane Bailey's still just trying to hold on the old tires, but he is just dropping through the field. And a lot of these guys, I mean, Coleman'sberger fighting his way up into the top 10. you got to get clear of this pack. That's the main thing you're thinking of whenever you're in the middle of a hornet's nest like this. You're thinking, man, if I could just get to the front and just not have a challenge for a moment and just breathe, because Michael Gudger and Holiday in the 9 side by side, and everybody behind them are just white knuckling around every single corner.
Looking like they are starting to get it a little bit calmed down. Coleman'sberger, Burge, Gudger have all broken clear. John Holiday and now Zane Bailey have broken clear as well. Mike Allen still laps down, has gotten around this pack as well. Paul Witt side by side with Brad Slagle up the road, as Slagle with a huge dive off down to the turn number 1 takes that spot away. Meanwhile, there is Selena Thompson now under fire from Dale Rapp.
Oh, and Rapp has absolutely flown through the field. Oh, but he tags the apron a little bit in 3 and 4. Pushes the 91 up the racetrack. Rapp has flown through the field after that lap 1 incident on the restart where he just about spun out. He dropped all the way to further back than 8th. And then all of a sudden, 5 laps later, after I had noticed that he was in the 8th place spot, he has driven up to the 3rd place position. And he was knocking on the door of 2nd with Selena Thompson starting to struggle on those right side tires. Rapp mounting another charge down the back straightaway. Probably just going to have to set her up for 1 and 2 as he dives down into 3 and 4, getting a little bit of dirty air through the center of the corner. Can he get a good exit, though, against the 91?
Paul Witt dropping down more positions. Of course, remember, on old tires still as well, as he took fuel only on that last stop. So he's another one of those drivers that is on the backslide throughout a good chunk of this race. Dale Rapp back to the inside of Thompson, but still unable to really mount a proper charge. But not for lack of trying. I mean, this has been a very aggressive battle between the 91 and the 52 that is not showing signs of backing off anytime soon.
It's not, but I got to point out the 91 has done a fantastic job on the 2 tires. I mean, I know I pointed out earlier you can hold on for 5-10 laps on the 2 tires, but Selena Thompson has done a great job just crowding the 52 down the front straightaway this time. I don't think it's going to be enough of a defense here this time as Dale Rapp just drives her down into the corner and pushes her up the racetrack. A little bit of door contact between the 2. Dale Rapp's going to take that 2nd place spot finally, but Selena is still doing a great job on those 2 tires.
Ryan McRoberts down into pit road on this lap. So McRoberts will be the next driver to come on down into pit road, and that could open up the fuel window for everybody else in this pack that is still has yet to make one more stop. Remember, they last pitted on lap 76 with about 40 laps to go, or over 40 laps to go. That is not enough time. You have to come down to pit road.
Dale Rapp's taking the lead away from Scott Rankin. I noticed that Scott got on the mic. He just gave it to Rapp. He pulled over and let Dale Rapp go.
What do you make of that one there? I mean, Scott, I think, is planning something here because he doesn't often just give up spots for the heck of it. I wonder if maybe he's pitting soon and he didn't want to risk being run over like he did earlier.
He did take 4 tires under that pit stop, right?
You are correct. He did.
Maybe he just drove him too hard to get up to the race lead, but I feel like Dale Rapp is the one driving his tires harder than anybody else in the field. He's come from 8th after almost spinning on the first lap of the restart, and he's leading the thing. And if he's on the same tires as Scott Rankin, I don't know how he can keep this up to the end of the race. The right front tire's got to blow on that 52.
See, I think that Scott Rankin is getting set to come down to pit road, which is why he moved aside to let that pass go. Because, I mean, he's holding pace with him. It's not like he's, like, big time slower than him, or we'd have seen Rapp open up a much bigger gap by now. I think Rankin doesn't want to run the risk of being hit in the rear again by drivers like what happened earlier with Zane Bailey when he tries to come down to pit road. He's trying to make sure that truck can be there to fight by the end of this race.
I feel like that's definitely possible, and we're starting to see Doc Holliday. He's pitting in this time by, so I do think everybody's going to have to come down for a splash of gas unless they've been saving heavily from the drop of the green flag on this restart. And we see Holliday pulling off the banking. Very conservative pit entry here from the 9.
Yeah, making that entry in turn number 3 to come down to pit road. Checking in on Charlie Birch and Brad Slagle. They're also going side by side, and that is the battle for 8th on the racetrack, with Slagle trying to take it away from Birch. Hops down to the inside line, and Charlie Birch able to wash up, and here comes Slagle now down to pit road.
Ooh, that's a little bit more aggressive there that time from Slagle. He ends up getting it wound down to the pit road speed limit. Good pit entry there from Slagle, getting that thing off the racetrack. Nobody with any tires left to put on. Well, a couple people with 2 tires, but I feel like you probably don't sit in the box for the extra time to get them on. I think you're probably only taking about 3 seconds, 4 seconds of fuel max. I don't think that you would be willing to sit another 5 seconds to get the left side tires on if you're any of these guys out here that took 2 under the last pit stop.
Not unless you know you've got a lot of pace on those old tires and you can really make it up. That's always the big thing when it comes to taking old tires versus new tires, right? Is, yes, you're going to lose that time, but you can gain a lot of time on fresh tires, especially on a concrete track like this. The question is, do you have the time to make up that lost ground?
Well, that's the thing. I'm really thinking of Selena Thompson, right, up in 3rd place on the 2 right side tires. If you're going to come down and take tires instead of a splash of gas, you got to be one of the first down pit road so that you can extend that time of the tire advantage. Selena Thompson's still out on the racetrack as we're taking 14 laps to go. If she comes down at this point, you just don't have enough time to make up the ground that 2 left side tires would cost you. Now, if it was right side tires that you could put on, maybe that would be enough a time gain at this point, but left side tires don't grant you a big enough advantage to take them at this point in the race, I don't think.
Saw Noah Swafford coming down to pit road, and now we're getting set to see Mike Campbell, Zane Bailey, and John Held also all getting ready to come down and into pit road. So more and more drivers making those final stops of the night. And, well, there goes the 71 of Mike Campbell to the inside of lane, and he will take Paul Witt with him. Now, Witt, again, has already made his final stop in the afternoon, so Paul Witt just driving back through this field on that recovery drive. He is also down a lap, so we'll see what Witt's able to do as Witt will break around the 71 and, I believe, unlap himself from Lane and Co. Gets himself a little bit of clean air to work with. Right now, Bailey and Lane, the tightest 2 trucks on the racetrack, but about the same distance is Van Leer and Gruber, separated by just a 10th for 4th.
I got to point out, Scott Rankin's saving gas. I think that's why he let the 52 go. I saw him lift and coast heavily down into turn number 1. I haven't gotten on his onboard to really be able to tell, but yeah, going down into turn 3 again, he is lifting way early compared to the 52. I got to think that Scott Rankin's trying to make this thing to the end.
There's no way. I mean, you can't make up that much ground on a stop and, well, let's take a listen. Right there, he lifted out of the clutch in the tri-oval still. And then watch for that needle right there when they hit turn 2. That's where he gets on the throttle again when he hits the apex.
Yeah, and I got to point out, he's not just getting off the gas. He's throwing the clutch in, man. I mean, he is saving as much fuel as he can. That's why he let Rapp go. He's got a ton of overspeed on exit compared to Rapp, even though he's saving that much gas, and he's utilizing the draft down the straightaways to save just a little bit more. I think Scott Rankin, he's on to win this thing off of a nice fuel strategy call here if he can make it to the end.
I'm just amazed by how early he's putting the clutch in. I mean, the fact that he's putting the clutch in the middle of the tri-oval and he has still been keeping within half a second of Rapp consistently, that's a minor miracle in of itself.
I'm telling you, it's because Rapp blew off his tires coming through the field. He came from 8 all the way up to the front. So at this point, while everybody else, Scott Rankin's probably been saving this entire run. And whenever you save tires like that, where you're lifting that heavy into the corner, or saving gas that heavy lifting into the corner, you're also saving that right front tire because you are not putting it under a lot of pressure down into the banking. So not only is Scott Rankin saving a lot of gas trying to get to the end of the race, he's also saving that right front tire heavily compared to Dale Rapp up in the race lead.
No.
Oh, no.
Well, that just shot that strategy in the foot as he has another screen freeze, and that drops him to 4th.
Unreal for Scott Rankin. That hands over the strategy to Selena Thompson, who I'm gonna say she's probably been doing the same thing. She's been saving just as hard as Scott Rankin. Can Selena Thompson make it to the end?
Well, let's take a ride on board. Watch that needle. Clutch in, back on the power.
And Rapp's pitting. Oh, third place is pitting. Gruber's pitting.
Oh boy. Strategy's on now. Scott Rankin back up to 2nd place. If Selena Thompson has to pick, because that's the thing, Rankin's been able to use a lot of that draft behind Dale Rapp, right, to help save a bit of fuel. Thompson's been running in relatively clean air. She has not been close enough to get a big draft off of Scott Rankin. That might hurt Thompson in the long run here.
I can agree, but especially this racetrack with a stock car, the draft is not as big of a as big of a fuel saver as that huge clutch down into the corner. So potentially she'll be okay. The draft, it helps a little bit. That's why I pointed it out. But it's not the big thing. It's not the big thing.
Well, Rankin closed 3/10 that last lap, so he's not out of the fight yet.
He's got to, right? I mean, he's thinking he might not be able to for sure make it, but he's thinking he's got to at least bridge this gap a little bit to give himself an opportunity. I mean, Selena Thompson has been gifted a second lead over Scott Rankin. Coming to 5 laps to go, it's going to be tough for Scott to make up all that ground and still make the pass.
5 to go this time by at the line. What's the delta? Another 10.5 gain, but that's not quick enough to reel that gap in. I think Thompson's starting to push a little bit more as well to keep that gap up there. So this is going to be a close race here. Gap down to 0.6 of a second. 4 laps to go. Can either of them make it to the end? If they can't, Aaron Raymond is behind on the podium, and he is gunning hard.
Where in the world has Aaron Raymond come from? Oh my word, he started at the back of the pack in this, and I'm mind blown. This race is just one surprise after another. Duda coming down pit road to make his final stop, getting a splash.
Oh, trouble! Zachary Groover into the wall in turn 2, and he slides to the inside line. So big problems with Zachary Groover. There will not be a caution because of how low down on the racetrack he is, but there's been something big that has happened here to that machine.
Coming down into turn number 1, watching him go across the start-finish line now. We'll see what happened to Groover. It's shocking to see him just slide down the racetrack there and a caution not come out. He was super slowed down on the wall.
What in the world?
Word. That looked like a tire went down.
It almost does, doesn't it? But I mean, obviously doesn't have tire blowouts in this yet, do they?
Well, they do. If you run it down to 0%, there's a blowout.
Really?
I don't know if they look quite like that, but.
Well, let's take a look on board. Watch the wheel.
Oh.
That wheel just went straight. No. What was that?
Well, he turned to the right, so that had to have been something happened. Given the fact that he slid down the racetrack, something had to have happened in real life to Groover because he still doesn't move that thing. So I imagine he's dealing with something IRL right now. But Selena Thompson dealing with the pack behind him, coming to the white flag down the back straightaway this time. 1.5 laps left. Can Selena Thompson make it to the end on gas?
Thompson's got the advantage of having 2-lap trucks in the form of Brandon Groover and Dale Rapp to help her out. The gap up to 0.8 of a second. This is going to be tight here as they come to the line. Selena Thompson chasing his first win, and she's hit up the backside by Dale Rapp, nearly putting her out. Oh no, is she out of gas? She sure is. Rankin drives around her. Does Rankin have what it takes to make it to the end? Raymond still closing. Trying to see if he has what it takes to make it to the end of this race as Thompson runs out on the final lap. Scott Rankin drives off turn 4, and he is back to victory lane of the Wanton Goons F-150. Holy cow, the drama on the final lap as Thompson coasting around turn 4, trying to make it to the line. And looking like Coleman'sberger behind her is out as well.
Coleman'sberger able to make the pass, though, without any power. And both of them just sliding positions. Thompson going to come across the line in 8th. Coleman'sberger holds on to 6. Heartbreak for Selena Thompson.
Boy.
Just could not save enough, running out at the white flag.
That is a tough, tough break. Right on board with Scott Rankin here as he was coming to the white flag, and watch Thompson ahead of him. Right there. I think that's why Dale Rapp hit her, was because she suddenly sputtered and slowed.
Absolutely. He had nowhere to go in that moment. I was wondering what he was doing, being a lap car hitting the leader like that. And then I was like, wait a minute.
That makes sense.
Thompson's out of gas. Oh, unfortunate for Thompson, but still brings home a decent finish for running out of gas with a whole lap left.
And Scott Rankin out of Grafton, New South Wales, without enough fuel to put down a burnout. He'll park it on the front straightaway in the Music City. That's how you know it was close, but what a great fuel drive from this field. Fuel mileage races are the best types of races. No mess, no drama. It's just who can save the most, and in this case, it is the driver from the international scene that will manage to do it on the other side of the world. Let's take a rundown of official post-race results from the Music City 150 at the Nashville Superspeedway. Scott Rankin with just barely enough takes up the top spot of the podium. Aaron Raymond will be in second with Michael Gudger in third. John Hell brings home in fourth with Zane Bailey in fifth. Jim Coleman'sberger was in sixth. Jeff Gilmore seventh. Selena Thompson ran out of fuel. She was fighting for the lead at the start of the white flag. She'll finish in eighth. LeBon Villiers ninth. Charlie Birch rounds out the top 10.
Paul Witt finishes in the 11th place spot with Brandon Groover in 12th, Waylon McConnell in 13th, Dale Rapp 14th, Brad Slagle rounds out the top 15 with Jim Duda, Doc Holliday, Noah Swafford, Mike Campbell Jr., and Ryan McRoberts rounding out the top 20.
21st place, so it's Thomas Lane Jr. and Robert Amaro, the last truck finishing this race. From there, Mike Allen, Zachary Groover, and John Bawalda Jr. round out the field on what was a wild one from Nashville Superspeedway. What an absolutely fantastic drive this was this afternoon from everybody in this field. Let's take a rundown, if we can, to speak to Scott Rankin, the driver that comes home on the top step of the podium, and we'll see if we can get a word in with Scott Rankin here this time by, as we'll try to track him down. He is somewhere around here, I can promise you that. There he is, all the way down there in this field. But again, Scott Rankin, he's able to come home. He takes up another trip to victory lane, and this one by the skin of his teeth. Holy cow, how much fuel was left there when you crossed the line, Scott?
I had enough. So the plan was always to save, to put myself in a position that I could run that last lap a lot harder than I ran the whole race, because what's the point, right? What's the point in going hard until that point? You've got to get yourself in line. Yeah, it means you've got to save a little bit more fuel, but I'm in a rhythm. Things are running well. So, yeah, plan was always save as much as we physically could to get ourselves into that position. And then I was terrified, man. I was so nervous. I was shaking when I crossed the line. So
it was a wild drive overall for you. I mean, kind of up and down throughout the field, but you started on the pole. You fought your way kind of up and down throughout the field. You take the race win this afternoon. It's a very different track compared to a lot of the others that we run, being a 1.3-mile concrete beast. How do you have to drive this track differently from the blacktop tracks?
Less grip, first and foremost. So the first session that we're in, so there was obviously some session issues tonight. That's what it is. They fix it up really, really nicely. So big shout out to the team here. The second session was a lot looser. The first session was very, very tight from the get-go. There was never a moment where the car was actually loose at all. This session was a little bit less grip. I think it might have been something to do with humidity. So it was about the first 3 laps, you were loose on the bottom as you transitioned up and out of 1 and 2. And the rest of the track was really, really stable. So you had to sort of use that little bit of looseness to try and grab some spots. It was difficult to drive, but protect that right front, back your brakes, whatever you got to do to save that right front. In the first bit of the race, I didn't do that. So congratulations to all the guys in that first end who absolutely saved enough tire. So.
And looking forward now to the next race up on the calendar. It's the longest race of the season, 252.7 technically miles around the Talladega Superspeedway for 95 laps. What's going to be the game plan for the Wanted Goons crew?
Hook up, survive. When we get the whole crew together, Carson couldn't make it tonight. He overslept, so he made a mistake there. But yeah, it's going to be out in force, hook up, make sure that we're in a train and we're thinking. There's Paul Witt and Jim Duda are going to be amazing. They are some of the best Superspeedway drivers I've ever seen. I thought I was pushing well, and those guys blew my doors off at Daytona early in the year. So, first step, get in the race. Second step, settle. Let what will happen, and keep all full fenders on the truck. We do that, we're in the shout. So.
All right, sounds like a plan. We'll get set to see you then when we go racing next week in Talladega. Congratulations on another hard-fought race win tonight.
Yeehaw! Big thank you to all the Near Power guys, and a big yeehaw! Woohoo!
Scott Rankin taking it by just the smallest of margins on the fuel numbers there when it came down to victory lane. We'll move on down to your defending champion, Aaron Raymond, the driver that comes up just a little bit short. Austin, you're standing by with number 2.
Aaron, I don't know if anybody in the field had a more eventful race than you did. You went off strategy there early, and I kind of talked myself into believing into it, and then you coming through the field ended up getting into the back of another driver and kind of ruining your own strategy, but you still came back to finish second place. Just kind of run us through your night and what you were thinking with the strategy and what you were thinking after you made that unfortunate contact in turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the strategy I had was going to play it well, but unfortunately, my temper kind of got the best of me, and I made kind of a dumb move, and it hurt me for that middle section of the race. But overall, I don't really think it changed much. It just kind of came down to fuel mileage, and it would have been cool to see how it played out though if I didn't make the contact though.
Yeah, I imagine you did a little bit of math work at the beginning of this thing to make that strategy call. Only you and one other person came down. Do you think that you would have ran away with this thing if it had run green all the way to the finish?
That's kind of hard to tell. Me and Noah came down, and because what we did was we were following the original strategy on if we didn't have that caution, I think lap 18. So we were going to come down, we took 4, and then the next stop we're going to take just fuel, and then the stop after we're going to take tires again.
I gotcha. Well, unfortunately, we didn't get to see it play out, but I mean, hey, good recovery drive up to the second place position. How hard were you saving over the course of that entire last run?
I had the clutch in and truck shut off for probably about half that run. I was saving as much as I could.
Well, Aaron, big congratulations on the second place finish tonight. What do you think about racing at the Talladega Superspeedway next week?
It'll be chaotic.
Well, very short, sweet, and to the point. Big congrats to you on the second place finish tonight. Looking to see if you can back it up next week.
Thank you.
All right, that was our second place finisher, Aaron Raymond. Next up, Nolan's going to be talking to our third place guy.
It is Michael Gudger who comes home yet with another podium position here this afternoon. And Gudger, you're the only driver on the podium that actually changed positions overall in this race from where they started. You're up 2 at the end of the night. Walk us through the strategy game this afternoon, because it was a hard-fought race for you to get yourself onto that third place.
Holy moly, I don't know how in the world Scott nor Aaron made that on fuel, because I was running out mid of 4. I don't know, just kind of trying to stay up there. I tried really hard to save tires for a stint before the first caution, which that didn't really work out. But kept it up there, kept up with the leaders, ended up being able to make it to the end on fuel on the last stint, and came home P3.
It's a solid third place for you this afternoon. You entered this race 23 points behind the points leader and only 8 behind Zane Bailey. With this run, you'll be closing in even more to that third place in the points. Is the plan still to go for a title by season's end?
Always, 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 always.
And, of course, we're back to, I think, familiar ground for you. It's Talladega Superspeedway. We first saw you making splashes in the TNGG IEL Superspeedway Blitz in the off-season throughout the winter months. It's the longest race of the year, 20 miles longer than Daytona. And to say it'll be wild, I think, is going to be a little bit of an understatement. What's going to be the game plan for the longest race of the season?
I would have a game plan, but I'm not going to be here next week, so...
Well, fair enough.
If I were racing, I would say just keep it out of trouble and be there at the end.
Well, fair enough. We'll see you then hopefully when we go racing in 2 weeks. But for now, congratulations on third place, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Michael Gudger taking it up here in the number 3 spot at the end of the racing action this afternoon. And my goodness, I almost forgot your name for a second. My goodness, Austin, what a what a wild night of racing this was. I would not have had this any other way. This race was fantastic tonight, but next week, holy cow, 95 laps, Talladega Superspeedway, it's going to be chaotic all the way through.
Yeah, main Green Flag TV host. It's going to be a great one next week. Oh, sorry, I forgot your name there for a second, Nolan. Anyway, yeah, next week Talladega is going to be great. Hey, man, this was a great race here tonight from Nashville Superspeedway. Love the fuel mileage races. It came down to the wire. Had no idea who was going to win until the checkered flag flew with Scott Rankin taking it here tonight. So looking forward to seeing what happens next week in the IEL iRacing's Esports League at Talladega, my favorite track on the circuit.
It'll be a fun ride when we go racing at the biggest, baddest track on the circuit next week on Saturday night. But if you're interested in finding out more about who we are and what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. Don't forget to tune in to the ASRO Next Gen Cup Series race tomorrow night at the Iowa Speedway, where they duke it out for 200 laps in corn country. And, of course, the High Tide Racing League and Racing Designs Cup Series heads their first road course race of the season at Sonoma on Monday night. Oma Sorrell will be back in full force with their penultimate race of the season at the Monster Mile. For us here at Green Flag TV, that's all the time we got for one night. Thank you so much for joining us. My name's Manolo Rempel, alongside Austin Edstrom. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week when we go racing in Talladega.